quieres, no, no, no. Si quieres, ¿por qué? Quizás, ¿por qué?
A lo mejor.
¿Quieres? No, no, no. Si quieres, ¿por qué? Quizás, ¿por qué?
A lo mejor.
This means it's working.
Yeah, okay,
yes?
yeah,
This
they thought it can't be on a surface though.
okay, okay. Well, that's good. That's good skills. Like if you already have those skills, you're gonna be fine.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, then we wait for the rest. Maybe it's nice that I have a little bit of an idea of who you guys are already. So, I have the impression that you study in some way, that you are Dutch and international mixed, that you are creative or artists. Am I right so far?
Yes.
Okay, okay. What else? What else do I need to know? Are you guys tech savvy? Are you hands-on? Are you
I think there's a big range of experience.
okay?
Yeah.
A big range of experience.
Yes.
Okay.
And like people that have never seen this before and that guy.
That guy begins smiling, so I think I know which guy you're talking about. Okay, so he's gonna help me today, I hear.
I don't know.
Sorry.
No? Not so much
It's
experience?
I've tried it before, but I'm not so. I know Isadora.
Okay.
So I have like with node-based stuff, I have a bit of knowledge, but Touchdesigner not so.
Okay. And programming, anyone? Visual programs such as Photoshop?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yes? Other visual things, animation,
Yeah.
websites?
Presley Marina.
P5.
Okay.
P5.
P5.
JS.
Okay, okay.
Decided.
Okay, okay, but that's okay. Then I know which concepts you're familiar with. That's already a good start. Anything else I need to know about you guys? Any specific things which you're super interested in, which you want me to skip entirely? Words I cannot use. Words I should use.
Things we're interested in,
Yeah.
in to do in Touchdesigner. I think like interactive stuff. So an input of an audio, maybe do that.
Yeah.
Audio inputs, video outputs.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And also maybe you have a node machine. I think you can make your own AI facial recognition thing. I think I'd like to know something about it, how
Okay.
it works.
I don't know what the node machine is exactly, but I'm curious, so we can look into
Yeah,
that.
I think you can build something like an AI kind of.
Okay.
You make it and you put it in, and then you that translates to the visual changing or yeah,
Okay. Cool.
something.
Cool. Let's check it out. Okay. Then I have a mild impression. Should I just start with my story and then we'll get to tag along? We'll have space for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Are you also ready, Nick? Can I do it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do it. Here I am. No, I'm Bart, and I'm lucky enough to be able to tell you a bit about Touchdesigner. I strongly believe that Touchdesigner is one of those programs that you'll never really master, because it's one of those things where you can do everything. If you want to, you can create it. It might not always be the best route, but it's almost always possible. So we're going to talk about a bit about who is who. We already did a bit about you, so I'm happy with that. So I'll tell you about me. We'll do a bit of Touchdesigner and what it means, does, etc. I'll show you some stuff, and then I hope that you guys want to play around a bit. I want to go back to the room, let's say, and see, hey, what did you see? What's troublesome? What do you think is something for you? And then see if we can build something that is nice to take home, show your friends, challenge yourself with, etc. Whatever you want to do with it. So me, in this context, I am Bart, and I am a digital creative, VJ, and AI enthusiast. This is what I pitch on basically funds, etc. when I perform as an artist. And I do all kinds of things. I come from a background of a 3D studio, so I'm very familiar with Cinema 4D, Octane, rendering, everything that is this kind of stuff. It's,
if you're very passionate about something,
sound is on this
it's
one,
a form
sorry.
of fire. When touched, it's hot, and when touched too long, it will hurt. But when dealt with correctly, it is an energy that is very, very inspiring and very motivational.
Okay, you get the gist of it. We make images, movies, etc. I stopped this 2 years ago because I really disliked that no way out. I tried with universities, I tried with libraries, I tried with operas. All those productions were amazing, but in the end I got very stuck in the commercial thing delivering the money. So I got out, but it is where I have a lot of knowledge from. So I focused on simulations, portals, rendering things in video, etc. Super nice. Then I jumped at some point to things that are real time, and I really enjoyed that. This was an opera, Hansel and Gretel, but Hansel and Gretel was set in the old USSR, and we got to tell that pre-story. So the opera was just gonna go as it was, but we did the beginning and the end to kind of set the city, the vibe, etc. A couple other scenes too. That was amazing. I really enjoyed it, and I realized that I really like things that perform, that just keep going and that have the possibility to be interactive. So I don't build a world and then it gets stuck and stays in that same space. Next to that, I've always done a bit of VJing, a bit of whenever someone says bring a beamer, do some fun stuff, I came and showed up. Always sat in the abstract parts, generative visuals again. I used to work with VDMX, which I believe is one of the most fun VJ programs that exists. But that's what I did, okay. And the last years I've been doing more stuff which is more installation based. This was for a Lights Up festival. It was essentially a big controller you could sit in and move LED screens up and down. Those pillars are, I think, 12 meters high, so it was an impressive, nice installation. This is something built in Touchdesigner. Essentially you could draw whatever you want to draw and then prompt over it, so you could, well, basically create cool visuals even if you cannot. So it's like give a kid a drawing tablet, tell them I want bananas, and then everything turns bananas. It's fun. Bubble machines, blah blah blah. So I'm trying to jump on whatever I can. The last project I've been doing, last time actually, I've been mostly focused on Touchdesigner. This is very small letters, so I'll just I'll coach you through it. What I wanted to do is build a storytelling machine which is iterative. So not one that says, hey, here's a video, watch the video, video is done. Not one where I program 10 videos which are similar. No, something where I put in a story and then the story gets told in a way and it keeps on going. In this case, it's a 1 minute, 5 second loop, which is also set audio, but everything else is fluctuating. Meaning that it regenerates its video every minute. And every minute you see that same thing, but from a different perspective visually. So it might be that the story is something about AI and humans. And then the storyteller, which is LNM, it re-prompts the story from the perspective of another human. So it might be from a kid, seeing that we are now going with AI and we're like, what are we doing? It might also be from a student who's super excited about it. It might also be from a professor who says, that's where it went wrong with society, blah, blah, blah. So it might become dystopian, it might not. So I like to work in this type of way. Which essentially is, hey, we have a process and this is what I'll build. Otherwise I get very lost. So I'll coach you through. This is a box which is called Timer Logic. It is everything to make a 1 minute story with various prompts. So I wanted to have 8 chapters in that. So I have 0 to 5 seconds this, 5 seconds to 12 that, etc. That's this part. That goes to prompting. So that feeds into, well, hey, make a new prompt. Put prompt, okay, it will generate something. And then there's some control. Most of you know MIDI panels, I suppose, which VJs and DJs play with. I just connected it so I could vary things. So if I want to have interaction with the machine, then I can, not through the computer, but through some buttons. Then I put a real-time generator in between, which is a real-time image generator. So basically it takes shapes and it takes prompts and it creates images from it. I find it very fun. I'll show you some stuff later. It does require quite a lot of compute, so either you need to run the computing power in the cloud or have a decent farm, but it works. Then there's a bit of audio, and then that modulates together into visuals plus audio, and they modulate in image effects, so that's just VJ layers to make sure that it looks cool, that it feels coherent. How do I say this? I enjoy it when media is surprising and when we can do multi-layers. So what I wanted in this project was to also involve a laser, you've seen it, to showcase what's behind the scenes. I think if you make a piece of art, you don't want to explain it, right? Like explain this on the wall, have it next to your visual, and everyone, these. That's what you do here. If you want it in the art, you do it in another way. You try to get the user to understand a bit what's happening behind the scenes. So the input, the visual input that went in here, I put that on the laser in one color, and the input that was out of here, I put it in another color. Doesn't matter, it's details, but. And then the total thing is an output you can look at. That's what I've been working on. It was very fun because it involves all the parts of Touchdesigner. It involves connecting lasers, it involves creating visuals, it involves making systems to flow things around, do it in different ways so that you evoke different emotions. Also that you work with text and data, and that you get to control it. So it's all the modalities that I could think of back then put into one fun project. That can look something like this in reality. So here you see the storytelling prompt, here you see the actual prompt. So in this case it's a wary historian sifting through the dust of a forgotten era. So that guy is perceiving my story, rewriting it, and then making these separate prompts. Results into, well, any kind of weird things.
Sorry.
Yes, you always ask questions.
Was
yes.
this what the audience saw? Like the.
Yeah. No, I would normally not show this. That was also a presentation. Normally you would not see it. I'm still playing with that honestly because it's sometimes a bit difficult if you make something and not everyone understands it. So sometimes you want to give a bit more explicit knowledge, and sometimes it helps to just put a prompt there so that people can relate to it. In the end, if I would have to show it right now, I would only put the perspective there. So I put the perspective so that people see a bit of what is changing every minute. Because my idea was once upon a time was if someone sits there for 5 minutes, they see the loop 5 times. At some point they start recognizing several points are the same, they recognize the song is the same, they recognize that the story is the same, but then get to the nuances, so to say. But yes, that's a fair question. And sometimes in demos I would indeed pull everything up, show everything behind the scenes. In reality that looks something like this. If it plays, yes. Might be very small for you, but
my voice too quiet. Is there space that might still be in? Can we share machine and soul? Side by side, hold my light. Guard my truth. How can we coexist?
so that's relatively abstract, as you can see. What I enjoy is it loops and loops and loops, and I barely ever see something similar, and that's what I enjoy personally. Do with it what you want, but then you have a background of who I am and what I talk about. We already discussed a bit of who you are. Do you guys want to talk about what you're invested in right now? Is that interesting, or do you want to jump into that later? For me, I'm curious, but we can also do it in another moment. We can do it in another moment, I hear you. All good, all good. Okay, so what is Touchdesigner? There are all kinds of descriptions of Touchdesigner. Their own definition is it's a software product of derivative, which is used to build interactive 3D and 2D applications. It is procedural, node-based, real-time, and is considered a visual programming language. It is designed to give its users enormous flexibility in building applications without needing it to program in a conventional way. That's really what it is. You see a bunch of nodes. Yes?
Is it open source?
That is a good... No, it's not fully open source, actually. They are considering to open a lot of things. I mean, I don't know. We will check that on the website. No, it cannot be. It cannot be. It's not fully open source. You can build whatever you want on top of it. You can access almost all of the code, but not everything. They are playing with it now. They're also trying to make everything text-based in project files, because they also see AI coming up and they realize that if this power is in the hands of something that can also understand it better, that this group, which is generally a creative technology group, people who like to connect things together and hack and slash things, if they would have the power of AI in a program like this, it would be quite beneficial. They're a very nice company, but not fully open source, if that answers it. So yes, fully node-based, so what you have on your computer is showcasing exactly what it is. It means all of these things are operators, and all of them carry out a function that you would normally do with code. You can build almost anything. It can be big scale stuff, it can be very small scale stuff. Like I said, you can connect whatever you want. If you want, you can also connect cameras and do run a full studio on it. You could do basically whatever you could think of. I'll show you some things. This is another description. I'll spare you the details. But what can you do with it? I just looked up some examples so you and I talk about the same thing. Let's see if this works. Come on. Okay, so this is a guy who basically tracks his hand, sends that data to Unreal, and then in Unreal runs his simulation from Touchdesigner, and then plays that in a virtual environment in Unreal. So it's a double loop, super fun because, well, theoretically this is him, right, with his hands modulating, and that's the sim that he runs in Touchdesigner. So that's like, it's cool. You can do it, it's not even that hard. It's a bit small, yes. That's the result. So this is just a particle sim. You could do the particle sim also in Unreal if you want to. That's an option. Okay, what else can we do? If you have questions, please interject. I'll click more of them. So this is a recap of someone. So you have to just. This guy is completely into generative visuals. Does a bit of projection mapping. So there's a lot of tracking you see here, a lot of overlays, like what can you do with data analysis on top of video, but also just what can you do with particles on top of video, etc. Okay?
Generative visuals, what does that mean exactly?
What that means is that you generate a visual, so it can well, you could also call it procedural. It is that you constantly generate it so that you can vary input parameters and you get different output. But
so you do need to feed it an image?
Not necessarily an image. You can also feed it data or audio or anything along those lines. The definition is not so tight, but I consider it indeed a box, a black box, in which outputs visuals.
Yeah.
And that could be theoretically anything, but that's what Touchdesigner is really strong at. So this guy, for example, that I'll show you now, I hope you can hear the bird sound. Yes. This guy took bird sounds, analyzed the spectrum, and then basically created artworks to then compare bird sounds to one another. And that's kind of cool. He got into all kinds of conferences because all of a sudden you have a completely different audience, right? You don't have the people who are like, I want a purely aesthetic thing. You also have all the bird researchers, etc. who are like, whoa, this is another way to think of bird sounds. So that's very possible. I'll just keep going. This is a girl who combines both of those things. So once again, a lot of tracking, either with the face or with the hands, and then modulating parameters. So you might just have a simple parallax effect or a shift effect in Photoshop, and you control it with your hands, your eyes, etc. I'm just showing you a small fraction so you have an idea. Like I said, more is possible.
To stream precise position data.
This is if you want to do that big scale. It's essentially the same thing as other things. I don't know if you can actually see this. This is way too small. You should tell me if things are too small. This is a mocap suit, a pixel grid hanging from a wall, and then just doing shows. So working together, human and machine, and trying to interact with that. And that's right now, in my eyes, something that keeps on being pushed. We all want the multiple modularities, and doing tech plus human seems to be more and more of a topic. So it's cool. Yes.
You can get like data from mocap also into
Yeah, yeah. So the most used technology now is MediaPipe. It's a Google plugin that basically tracks your webcam and just immediately gives you like the hand, the face, etc.
Yeah.
That's super easy, but it's also quite flawed. Once I go stand over there, meh. But it's super fun for these demos, etc. Like if you do these big things, then you always run professional software or professional hardware if you can. And this is all super doable. Most of these things are built with just one node, and it says node, log it in, and then you get a 3D mesh or a point cloud or something like that, if that tells you anything. I can tell you, if you have questions about abstract things I use with words, feel free to ask me to elaborate. Most of the words I use I can explain. You can also do this. This is a physical installation, because what is hard in real life is doing things in synchronous ways, because you have humans or you have machines, etc. What is a computer good at? Doing everything in a pattern. So these type of installations are super easy to make, because, I mean, what is this? It's rotating heads, delayed a bit, and that's it. It's no more. I mean, the light is on. It's, the software for this is 10 minutes. The hardware is a couple days probably. But super easy in Touchdesigner, once again. Where are we? 3D scan. Yes, this I also find interesting. This is someone who is going out and scanning some stuff. So they basically had a bouquet of flowers, and they decided to scan it. Oh, sorry. And then play with it. Once again, they took the hand data, zoom in, zoom out, do turbulence, etc. And this is really easy because there's quite some plugins which can give you this 3D scan. Well, it's not technically a 3D scan, but a 3D scan. Turn it in point cloud, and then let you do whatever you want with it. That's cool. It's fun. It's accessible. Dancing is another one where the human can combine quite well with something digital. Super simple. You dance. You slice the image in a certain way. You say divide it up in 10, 30, make a move. They all have a slightly different delay, and all of a sudden you also get a visual dance next to your real dance. It's fun. I keep saying it's fun, but that's my opinion. This is very similar to what I do practically. This guy just does it better. He runs this AI. He kind of zooms into the image usually, prompts different things, and then lets the laser trace it. He uses this in huge shows in America. It's very dope to have this at a party.
What part does the AI do in this?
The AI does all of those images you see is all generative AI in this case. So he puts in shapes and prompts. So let's say it's dancer, and then there's like a shape that does like this, and then you get that. I can show you an in and output later if you want. Like I said, if you have a good computer, very simple. Let's see, what is this? This is an ad. We all know those. You can also make those in Touchdesigner. Wouldn't recommend it. This is YOLO, it's called.
Ja, dit bedoel ik.
Dit bedoel je?
This is what I meant, I think. It recognizes objects and then that does something.
In this case, it doesn't do something yet, but you can definitely do something with it.
Yes.
Yes. So this is indeed, it's an image classifier. Basically tries to detect things and classifies it. This one works really well. It's quite light. I assume most of you can run it on your laptop. It's fun to play with and see what you want to do with it. So that's on the input side of things again. And then audio, again, this is wavetable synthesis.
Yeah, already it's quite a rich sonic technique, and you can make even things like beats. You can do a lot of stuff with wavetables, and it is the most basic of light into set, which I can then transfer via.
So this guy is, in that previous image, he is tracing an image and then turning it into audio. So he's basically saying each line is a frequency, and or frequency graph. So let's say this is a 0, this is 20,000. And then it plays whatever tone you have there. The fun thing is you can do that with any image. You can also take audio, put it to an image, and then modulate the image and then put it back. So then you basically have a synthesizer, or you have a modulator. You can do all those things based on the image, so you kind of see what you're doing. It is quite grungy, noisy, but it's a certain style. It's very cool. That is some examples. Let me see what else I have. Oh yeah, about this one. Hello, no, here. So in this one you can see a bit better what is an input shape. This is a test I'm doing for a band. So essentially I have a metal band who wants to have insane over-the-top visuals, real-time generated with their performance. We have very big LED screens, so we are gonna shock the people with lots of light flickering, etc. In this case, what you see on that side is the input. It's just a video, and I modulate that video. We can show you a bit different things there. Here we put in a cube and a prompt, and then you see that the AI is constantly generating something which is related to our visual. Right now it's this blurry texture, and there's a prompt that says something like cave. And all that's in the AI is just this one box, which I downloaded from someone else who shared it. That's how Touchdesigner works. One of the big benefits is it's a lot of nerds who like to share. So they make you a box, they give you the box, they say play with the box because I don't know what to do with it. And then that guy is on Instagram and he's like constantly tagged and he's, whoa, he did something else with my cool box, you know? And then hopefully in the end you have a lot of boxes. Most of those boxes work well. If, for example, a new AI comes out or right now he's working on something new, he just updates the box, I load the box back in, and then all of a sudden my program works better than it did before. Yay, thank you. It's very nice. Yeah, this is me transferred through AI. You can also do that. You can also make yourself into a banana man. This goes as far as your head can take you. It's fun, once again. Let's see, where are we? Yes. So now that you've seen some examples, what does it mean, what does it do, and how are we going to do this? Do you all have a laptop with you? We don't need to start it yet, but it's good to know. That helps. That's step number one, is a screen, something to interact with, like a mouse. And then we just get started. So I'll tell you the basics. Basically how I try to approach this, I will tell you all the information I would have loved to know. It will be too much information, but some things will hint, or you'll be like, what about this? Or how did that work? Or I have this operator now, how do I connect it to another? Nodes are called operators. Well, they do functions. We have a couple of families that you can connect. The purple ones, they are called texture operators, meaning that they do something with an image on image level. So they could be a blur, they could be HSL, so they could do things with hue shifts, with color shifts, they could do brightness, opacity, etc. You can also merge layers. I think you might know that from Photoshop also, right? You can put a blue cube over a white image and then all of a sudden that part of the white image is blue. You can do all those things in here. It's useful to know. The one thing that's important here is it's more easy to play and figure it out than to think you need to know it all to then start playing. Because if you do that, we're 2 years further, you don't want to do it anymore. I firmly believe, and that's what I also need to tell myself every time, so that's why I repeat it, is make a plan and then start executing each step of it. So if you say, I want to make something that generates visuals based on audio, first try to get audio in, then see if you can read the audio, get some data from it, and then see if you can also take that data and make something move because of it. And then you play with the separate parts of it, and that way it works quite easy. TOPs, texture operators. So these can be noises, blurs, like I said. They run fully on GPU, so they're fast. It's an advantage. Chops, they are green, and they carry data. So they might carry an audio file, or they might carry a list of numbers, or they might, okay, what else could they do? They might modulate that data. So it could also be that you have a list of 100 text items and you want to scan for items that have the letters A and B in it, and then you can scan that through a filter, and then you have a smaller list. And if you iterate that, right, or get live data, you can constantly filter that way, channel parts of a visual to another part, etc. So these are very useful. They can also do logic. This is what I, for example, built my timer logic in. Right, I had a timer running in chops, so in channel operators. It would just count from 1 to 80, and I would have filters saying, hey, now you hit 5, now you hit 15, now you did this, etc. SOPs, they are surface operators. They can perform in 3D shapes in 2D space. I would mostly ignore these. They are a classical form, which is really good and really impressive, but we are right now blessed with a new operator, which is particle operators, which does the same but better and easier. So that's great. These can be functional though. You can make all kinds of cubes with it. You can make these kind of dotted patterns. And for 2D stuff they are very fun. But if you want to do 3D stuff or 3D stuff in 2D space, usually for me pops are much more understandable. I did not have one of these beautiful slides because it's from old presentation when pops did not exist. But particle operators, they can be considered like data, but in 3D space. So they might be 6 particles, here, 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 4 particles, that shapes into a cube if you connect them. And they all have a location, they all have an age, they all have a number. So you can move each of these, and you can make them bigger and smaller. So all those parameters are built in. And in the other networks, for example in chops, you could build the same theoretically, but then you need to build it. Then you need to say, hey, here's an ID, and here's a number, and here's this, and here's that. It takes a lot of time, quite exhausting. Use pops. I'll show you later. Yes.
You say the new subs, that we don't use them anymore, and there's a new one, and what was that?
They are pops,
Pops.
particle
Standard
operators. Yes. There are more operators. You can even build your own family of operators if you want. There are all kinds of features, so no worries. There's enough to dream. Common workflows, because this is quite abstract. This is like the backbone of the thing. We'll figure it out in practice. Then there is. Let me also open Touchdesigner in the meantime. This is again too small. Here, it's bigger. These are some common things. Feedback loops. That is when you take something and you iterate on it. So basically what you would do is you would take me standing here, you save me for 1 second, and then you use that in the next frame. So let's say I stand here, you make me half transparent, and I go here in the next frame, then you trace me around. So if you can imagine, you repeat that, then slowly I have a trail behind me of half fading away things. That might be very abstract again. I'll try to show you that in Kijken. This one. I think I should have it somewhere. Can I also do feedback already? So we'll slowly move to the program itself. So you get mildly familiar, and then you land so softly that you want to play all day. Feedback. Okay. So we get 2 now. Yes, this is. Okay. Okay. So yes, feedback. That's okay. This is considered feedback. I will turn you, or I'll show you the basics. Okay. So basically I made a circle in a texture operator. So this is a 2D circle that has a bit of a fade out. You can see it here. What I then did is I transformed it, and the transform does nothing else but rotate. And because that circle was off center already, it just rotates the circle. And that's what you see on the right now. So far, so good, possibly. Then I have a feedback, which is a node that essentially captures the last frame. So it says last frame store. It does not do anything yet because it needs to be fed the newest frame. That is, in this case, this comp. So if I turn this comp on, then you see that it traces that last frame and makes a circle. So it basically stores the circle here, it stores it in the next one, stores it in the next one. And right now we don't delete anything. So that's why it turned into a circle. If I would now reset the thing, it would start again at the last place where it was, and make a circle again. Keep repeating, keep repeating. Where it's half transparent, it will keep filling it in, because 50% plus 50% turns into 100%. That's why the circle becomes more defined. Then if we add a level, which is an opacity, or in this case I use it to delete 2% of our data, and all of a sudden it does this. So you see that the trail is quite thick at the beginning and thins out towards its tail. And I can play with this, I can make it very quick, I can make it stand again. You can do whatever you want with this. This basic principle, it sounds complicated. If you keep the idea in your head that you can save the last frame and modulate it, you could also make it bigger. I'll show you another project, sorry. Then, this is also a texture operator. So this takes multiple textures and switches between them. So what I can do is I have 4 inputs in them, and I can show any of them, which is fun and easy. This switch is also a feedback system, but in this case we don't play with opacity. Sorry for the smallness of it, I suppose. This is a circle that we then feed again in the same feedback, in the same composition, so we overlay those 2 again, and then we play with the transform of that circle. In this case we rotate it, and then it rotates forever. Rotate it the other way, it does that. You want to make it more scaled in one axis, so we can do it like that. And that's what we call generative, because any parameter we adapt, we see something else happen. This you can do anything with. You can also make opacity, you can also make this go slower, faster, do this on particle level. The concept is the same. So therefore we call this a common workflow. Number 1. Oh, sorry, I'll show you the rest of it. You can later, all these files will be accessible, so you can just play around, so you don't need to dive into everything. And make it from scratch for now. This one. Go to this. This is a more complicated version of feedback. So it does exactly the same thing. We input a circle, we take a feedback. In this case we modulate more. We put the add 2 in there, so this one, and that's the frame that we feedback in. But now, sorry, this is very small. I'll make this. Ooh. Oh. So what is happening here is, it's called a reaction diffusion system. I don't know if anyone has ever seen something like this.
No.
No, okay. How do I explain this? When you blur and reduce an image and then subtract them, you get a phenomenon that we also have in bacteria, etc., which moves like this. So you kind of blur, detect, and then it keeps growing and shrinking until each part takes their fair space. So that's why there's 2 colors, and they keep balancing how much they can give and take. This is the most primitive example I can give. And that's what we built in this feedback. So what it does is we have this input, a circle. That's why it started with a circle. So right, it starts with a circle and then branches out. We have a noise which is helping the blur, so that's why it's randomly moving. If I would instead put not a noise, sorry, and we do it again, then it stands completely still. So it will start moving, but the growth is the same everywhere. So what this particular noise does is it helps one part of the blur, let's say this part, it helps it blur more than another part. So it's just a color modifier. That's why this gives nice symmetrical patterns, or almost symmetrical, and other ones do not.
So
Yes.
is this like the basics of how you create something moving from a... Because you began with round shape.
Yes.
Is this how all movement works?
Not all movement, but this is how you can iterate movement on image level. So you could, like I showed in the first one, you can just animate movement. So for example, not this one, sorry, the second one. This one, I just animated the movement.
Ah, that's easier.
Right, so I just said rotate. I can also tell it to randomly rotate. I can also tell it to follow my mouse. So you can do anything with movement. But if you want that image itself to keep developing, then feedback is very useful. And feedback can just be a great way to make something which is quite simple on the back look really fancy in the front.
And can you make it generative if it's already moving?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so you can practically.
What would happen if you would put a video of a human face instead of the round shape? Would it work the same way?
It would practically work the same way. So that's what we can do. We can also start it with this noise. And then you see nothing happen now because this was only the input value. But we can see that then it shapes on the starting shape of this noise. So, so it starts every time in a different way. You could even make this an effect and start like, ooh, yeah! You know? I need some music, but next time maybe someone makes music, please help me. And this is now standing still because the blur, this one, is static. So that's because I put a constant, a gray level in now. It does, can modulate what I change. You don't have to understand this yet. You have to see the possibilities in it, by the way. And this noise I can feed in here, and then you see that this map starts all of a sudden moving, and that's how you can create movement through a feedback loop. So the idea is very much the same. This feeds back into that, we stack the frames, and therefore movement starts happening. You can also do weird random things with it, such as this. And this is also quite simple. It's a sphere that moves in a bunch of colors, in and out. We blur that, we displace it. Displace is a fancy word for reshape it based on data. And then the result is something like this, which would already be fine. You don't need to change anything on this. What helps if you put the feedback in there is that the colors also start playing with each other. So now I have blue the one time and orange the other time. Now they start blending. So all of a sudden I get way more color. And that's an advantage, or can be an advantage depending on what you want to do with it. So that's in short feedback. Then we have renders and camera setup. That is because you can see in the program all your data, and you can see them in the nodes, but you cannot render all data. I'll give you an example. I have this, let's start somewhere simple. Yes. It can be that the screen is confusing, but this is a pop. So this is a particle operator that holds the data of a circle. So it holds 40 points that are connected and they shape together a circle. I can see that here, but if I want to do something with it in the visual level, so if I want to change the opacity or if I want to make it blue or purple, I cannot do that. So what you do instead is you feed it into a space, a geo. So that's basically a space where you can then render it, and that sounds complicated, but once again it's quite simple. This is the world it happens in. This is the camera that looks at where you want to film that. this is the light that you put on it, if you want light in the first place, and this thing renders it, and then you see it becomes, instead of blue, it becomes purple, and then you can suddenly do it as a texture again. So all of a sudden you can do bloom, you can do opacity, etc. Once again, you'll get these things, so you can play around with it, get a bit of a feel of it. You don't have to fully understand it, but this is a very common network, these four together.
Don't want to disturb your talk, but
That's
my
okay.
laptop is
Yes. Do it, do it.
I wanna unplug this lamp.
There's even more free ones here.
Oh my god, I didn't even need one.
My Phil. I didn't even put it, but thank you. Okay, so that's another common thing. Instancing. Instancing is a fancy word for copying. I showed it here as well, actually. What I do here is I have this square and I copy it onto this circle. If I take this part off, you see it more clearly. So this square is taking my mouse input, so left and right, up and down, very simple. And then on each point of that circle, I clone that square. So this times that equals that. I can make this one have less divisions, and then you'll see less squares. So now now I'm multiplying a square with a square. So on each point of the square, you will see a square. If I make this circle again, get a very dense one, you can do whatever you want. Very common practice because it helps you make shapes, but it also gives you data to play with. So if I take this square on square again, it's kind of boring. Now I'll put a noise on top of the data. And now all of a sudden I have four squares that bounce around, play around, etc. Then, because it's generative, I can replace this thing with another thing. I can replace this data with more data. I can replace it with my whole body and start dancing with squares on me. I can also start dividing this one and making it move in various ways, just by changing a couple of numbers. So that's also very useful technology, way to work. Audio reactivity, I heard some of you like audio. Audio is fun because audio gives you data that you can also feel. It's much more fun than other data. Because, I mean, it's simple, you all dance, you know how the body works, the computer also likes to do it. Find a way to do it, but there is luckily some very easy tools for that. There is an audio device in, which takes the microphone data. There is also in Chops. This might be overwhelming. This is all the nodes in Chops. They can be found here. They are all the green nodes. You can ask me for what you want. You can also Google it. But mostly I would recommend play a bit with these files, see what you can change that's going to be cool. But for example, you can also do audio file in, and then you just get a piece of audio. You can pipe it into, this is a combined layer of operators. So this is once again one of those blocks someone built. Yes?
Is this also like inbuilt in Touchdesigner, this operator?
This is also built in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is called the palette, and the palette is groups of nodes that people have stored, saved, or otherwise. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
You can also make your own. You can add them, so you can just add a folder and play with it. But here are many things that are usually they require 10 steps, and in this case they require 1 step.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. By example, like this component,
Yes.
the analyzer.
Yeah.
If you go further, still we can develop it, right?
Yes.
Plugin.
So if I go into
More
it,
frequencies, or-
oh, so this is what you. So that's the benefit of it. You can always dive into
Yeah.
almost anything. People can block it, but you can always get around it.
Yeah.
And almost no one wants. This is the real network. So if you want to duplicate the kick snare rhythm
Yeah.
and detect a different kick snare rhythm, sure, go for it.
Even you can go with the one particular frequency.
Yeah, yeah. In this case, it's already built in that you can, I
Okay.
think,
Yeah.
filter a bit. Oh no, it's not actually built in. No. So indeed, if you want to modulate what low mid is, then we can dive into this, find where the analysis part is, signal, low, mid, high. Oh, it already says it here. So then we see here that they limit from 0 to 100. probably they quantize something. Well, you can dive in here and you can just modulate it.
And eventually we will have that visual, like the graphics fader.
You will still have this graphic because they made that for you.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can just, the guy who made this just made this interface. You can play with it and you can also change it if you want. You can change the colors. You can change everything about it actually. So that's pretty cool. And then the benefit is also you can take this data and start using it in your program. So in this case, we took low, mid, and high. We now have nice bars that move up and down, and we can change that or connect it to whatever you want. Literally anything, right? I can connect it to how many cubes there were in this previous example, in this one. I can also connect it to how this noise is moving, that it only moves once I clap, for example. I can also, in this case, connect it to a very ugly circle, which is now moving. And yeah, like that. But because it's data, you can also play with it. So this is the data coming in. And as you see, this graph is a bit different. This one is fast. And that one is a bit slower. It's called a lag operator. What it does is it can lag both movements up and movements down. So it can slow them, it cannot increase them because they are real time. But so basically if I have a high and I want that high to last, so I want if I do this, that an effect stays on for 2 seconds, then I can say lag for, this one, lag for 2 seconds, and then it will now slowly get up. You can also do that on the when it turns on, so that it lags before. Now basically nothing happens because it needs to wait 2 seconds and then there's a new frame, etc. So that way, that's one of the ways to play with data. Often these numbers don't fit your needs, so this number comes out between 0 and 1. You can use math, simple math in this case. So I say, you cannot see that really. It says here from range and to range. The from range is the incoming data, so I see visually that my data comes in between 0.2 and 0.5, so I say that's approximately my spectrum, and I want that to be between 0 and 1. It does all the math for you, you just arrange what kind of data you want out. It could be that I want 50 circles, and I just change the 1 to 50, and now all my data is from 0 to 50. Okay. Once again, common concepts, just good to know. You don't need to understand all of them, but sometimes it's fun to see. And we can also refer back to things if you say, hey, I want to do that, or I think that would be cool, would be possible. Mouse and keyboard input, also a very practical thing. The mouse. The mouse is very simple. The mouse in is a chop, just like other chops, so data. So it automatically maps from -1 all the way here to 1 on the right side, up and down. In this case not fully -1 because my screen is not square. That's why it maps 0.56 because that's a 16 to 9 ratio, if that tells anyone a lot. Here again I limited it because I wanted certain amounts of data. And I wanted it in steps, so that's also something that often happens with data. Here you see I have precise numbers. I wanted it to move in increments of 0.1, 0.2, etc. So now you see it moves in steps, and well, that. Why you see something sometimes that I have nulls. By the way, you can rename all of these to whatever you want, end or outputs, data. It is because often we are referencing this in something else. And if you rename them, you get all these red things, which is kind of annoying. So then you see that my reference is broken because I used here operator null tx. So from this thing which was called null, take tx and ty and use it as my data for a certain location. Now it doesn't work anymore because I renamed the thing, and that's very annoying. So either I can relink it. If you click this tiny icon, it changes output or look, and then you can just drag them and put it there. Click reference, and then it's linked again. Plop. Ploop. Very easy to link any data to anything else. See, it works again. Very nice. Why am I showing you this? Because if you put a null, then you can change anything between this and a null. So I can put a limiter, I can put a math node, I can put whatever. And this thing holds the output data. So I don't break links between this and this. If I would have put a math node and I would have linked directly to this one, I will get stuck. So then I need to, every time that I put a new node, I need to again take this value, drag it from here to here, and that's exhausting. So simple tricks to make your life easier. LFOs are also fun. LFO. Okay, this is, I am not good with audio, but I like sounds. So that's my disclaimer. Okay, so this is my music. Sorry for it. Yes. So in this case, we have an LFO. An LFO moves from one value to another.
What stands LFO for?
That is a good question. A low frequency operator, I think.
Oscillator.
Oscillator, thank you. Yes. See, we have experts in the room. So what that is generally used for is to create data if you don't want to use data yet, or if you have a particular need for something to go up and down. It can go up and down in many different ways. So you can set an amplitude, right? It can go from -10 to +10. You can offset it so it stays more in one space than another. You can change it from a sine to a Gaussian pattern. So a sine is like this, a Gaussian is more like this. You can do a triangle, so that's linear. You can do a square. Square is on-off. And the result is something like this. So a square makes this sound. On, off. A triangle. Yes. A sine. Because it goes just above the frequency. So yes, this is an example of doing it with audio, but you can do that with shapes, you can do that with movement, you can basically use this to animate anything you possibly want.
So it's not a different effect, or like, what do you call this? A different node that you choose just for audio? It's the same?
Yeah, it's because this is just data feeding into audio in this case. So you could make, with the same LFO, I can also use this data to connect it to an image. Right, I can now do that plus thing again, then drag this one into this. Let's see, what do we want here? The radius. So we put it in this, put it as a reference again, and now this thing scales to the sound. So like that, you can connect anything to anything, and
So
you also,
synchronizes.
yeah, it synchronizes perfectly always, which is very nice to do. There are multiple ways to do it. These thin lines, they are called data lines. They are a bit different from the node lines. So a node, like this node, transfers a lot more data than this. This one only transfers the number, whereas, well, this theoretically transfers more than just a number. You can also pull data from it, get the info of the previous numbers, etc. Like if I give here a trill, and you can see how our shape is. This also helps sometimes. A trill is simply keeping input data, so this up and down, and it's storing it over time. So it says I'll track it for 4 seconds. I can also make it 1 second, but you can also track it for 10 seconds. And the benefit is now, if I don't know what a Gaussian looks like, I can see it. Or if I want to know what the square looks like, you can see it. Think of it as the lab monitor you have if you want to check out electricity and see what kind of electricity you're working with.
Is the trail always just making a visual of what you're actually doing? Or does it?
The trail is always showing you the data that's incoming. And that is, if I put this in there, then you see that it still shows you what is happening, but it's showing you what's happening in this node.
Yeah. Okay.
So you can show a lot of things, but definitely not everything.
I miss a monitor.
You miss a monitor. What do you
Like-
want? What do you want to monitor?
So you can always see what you're changing or making. I know this is
Visually or?
yeah, I guess visually. I've never done it with anyone else. Like how do you? I see like the nose.
Yes.
But it can be confusing, so I don't know what is actually changing in the output.
In the output in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Is this something that resolves?
this is something that, see this more as a probe. Like if there is a part of your project that you want to figure out, particularly a green part, so a data part, this trail thing is very useful to see, hey, what's actually happening.
Okay.
So that's why we can easily see the shape of the data and those kind of things. If you want to see in, let's see, I broke all the projects by now, nice. It's also normal behavior. We will link them again. Examples to break things, also break things. Okay. So in the case of this, usually your last node is the one you want to see.
Yeah.
And if you want to just see it while you're working on something else, you can put it in the background of the,
Oh, it was so simple.
yeah. And then you can put away the properties display, and then you have a bit of space. So that's one way. And then if you remove the palette, if you have a smaller screen, you even have a bit more. That's one way, and now you see it moves with my mouse. The other way is, you can call it out 1. And if you call it out 1, then you can also split the screen and put it on a panel, and then you have it on a separate window. Yeah, so now it's not in the background. I honestly find it in the background super annoying because then I'm looking at nodes, it's already numbers and chaos, and I'm like, come on. So this is quite simple. You click on, right, I have one panel now. You make it 2 panels, and then the panel you want to see it, you press panel. So here, panel, and then you need to put the output or the one you want to see, you name it out. And that's how you work with it. Once again, if you need this, I'll be here, so don't worry. We'll fix all of your problems that I can fix, and then we'll get it going. Okay, I noticed that I have to stop soon because it's too much. Nulls we already did, and create sound we already did. Look at that. We did all of the common workflows. So we are at play around. What does play around mean? What I would say is we can do various things, or you can do various things. It's up to you, what your brain is feeling like. One is I will give you these files so you can look into them, download them, play around, push a couple buttons, ask me questions like, I broke this, why did it break? I also included a bunch of files that are a bit more high level, but in the same way you can also play around with them. I'll show you the folder so we are talking about the same thing. Workshop. Yes, so we have these files, common workflows, feedback. So this is both the files I just showed you. Play around with it. We also have a pop guide, which I'll also show you. It is to understand those particle operators. And then we have a folder with project files, which are, I would say, cool project files to get started. MediaPipe is an instant plugin to detect those hands and faces. So you could link, for example, some illustrations or whatever you want to your face. This is oscilloscope. It makes visuals. Lots of visual things here, different approaches. There's also the image classifier plugin is also in here. So there's all kinds of things to dive into, click around, see if you can link some input data with some output, right? And whether you want to go audio or you want to go story or you want to go visuals, that's all up to you. I also included a nice list in case you already have felt like exploring and you're done. You can click this link and you get a bunch of tutorials which are just simple starter tutorials which go through the same type of things, but they are the good ones, so to say, so you're not stuck with some shitty ass tutorials. You're already sitting in pairs. I would recommend to work on your own laptop by yourself, but to form a pair. Well, look at you. Simply so it's easy to discuss and exchange ideas. To be like, hey, I don't know this button, do you know? You'll learn more from each other than you'll learn from me. But if you don't figure it out in 1 minute, you know, hello, then I'll come. We'll do that for, what time is it now? We'll do that for about 50 minutes. Then we'll get back to each other. If you guys are done sooner, that's also fine. Then we'll jump into a bit of reflection to see what does this mean for you? What do you do? How does it relate to your future or to a project that you're already doing? So we get a bit more in the space of, might this be useful for me, or is this a complete waste of time, or am I looking at it wrong? You know, those kind of nice things. And any other feelings, ideas, etc. So let me share you those files. Do you want a QR code? Can I send you all a link? What is the easiest way? How do you usually get information here?
Email.
Email? The someone, Nick?
Yeah.
Can I send you like a WhatsApp and then you can send it to the email?
Or in the WhatsApp.
Or in the WhatsApp, look at that.
We'll do it to the WhatsApp.
Okay. There. That's A. I give you the presentation as well, so there might be useful information in there. Okay. Is this clear for everyone, first of all?
I have a basic question. What is better, Windows PC or a Mac?
That's a good question. Most people would say Windows, because Windows supports all of the function of Touchdesigner, but Macs are ridiculously fast, ridiculously high performance since the M series. So if you want to bring just a laptop and do your whole damn show on it, Mac. But then know that there will be like 7 nodes which will not work. They're proactively expanding those, but for example there's some NVIDIA upscalers which work really well. They don't work on Mac. That's the only one I get bothered with. And if you want to do a full large language model, it might also be better to have like a graphics card the size of your laptop and then go with that. But no, normally I would say Mac.
And you made your project on a Mac?
No. No, ironically enough, my project runs on that on a big graphics card because of that large language model. So I run a 16 gig video model and a 6 gig large language model. So I fill up exactly a premium GPU card. But what you can do, or what I can do now, is I can offload the video generation into the cloud. It gives me about 50 milliseconds of latency. So as long as it's not for live performance, it's great. And then I can run everything on my laptop. And honestly, the times I did need to move my PC, like the cross-stick thing you were at, it was horrible. Okay. Because I need to like, you know, and then someone says, turn it on now. And then 5 seconds later, like, okay, ciao. It's horrible. This is the last file in that project folder. It's Pop Explorer. It shows you examples of all of the pops. Why I show this is because it helps to understand a bit of pops. You can click into them if you want to see a network for any of them. Proximity, hello. If you want to see how the network actually works, you can click the Show Network button and you get the whole graph. Does anyone have questions?
Yeah, is there like a quick startup?
Is there like a quick startup?
You showed a lot, but
yes.
It's still live magic.
Yes.
And where do I start?
Where do you start? What I would do is I would look at either one of the starting projects, the one I sent you, and look at it and see if you can change something arbitrary that you would like to change. Okay. Change simple things like, I want to make this square into a cube or into a circle, or I want to change the color, or I believe that it should be blurred at the end. Very simple things that you're like, I just want to change. I would start with that.
Yeah.
And then work from there, get your like dream bigger and bigger, and then start asking if in this hour you could take your own piece of data and connect it to any piece of output, audio or visual, then I would say you already did great.
Okay.
Okay,
sorry,
go.
The second link you sent for pitch, is that...
Oh, that's not the public, sorry, yes, you're right. You are absolutely right. I shared you my own link.
We have the files in the Dropbox anyway.
I know, but I'll give you the link so you have it, you know, otherwise, you know how it goes next time. You'll be at home, you want to look at a presentation, show all your friends, you're going to be, where's my
it's the
link?
presentation.
Exactly, create link, copy link. Okay. I will depend on Nick to send it to you, but I'm sure he will.
Oh, quick.
Does everyone have Touchdesigner already?
Yes.
It works? It's the first part. Ah, that's great. Okay. We're also good. Yes. Ah, you already made a plan.